Hello world of YouTube. How you doing? Ha! I got my webcam working again, which is awesome because I like making quick, not necessarily quick, but easily done video responses that are off the cuff, that are made solely because I want to talk about something on the channel with you guys. And today, I'm actually going to be making two video responses, this one and another one, that I wanted to make earlier in the week, but I'm going to be making now because I got this working again. But the first one I'm going to be doing is to an older video that he might not ever see. It is a response to Trilbee's discussion of the Metroid franchise. Trilbee is a guy that I've discovered recently who reviews Doctor Who episodes, and I found his video game discussionary channel where he talks about video games. He doesn't necessarily do Let's Plays, he just discusses video games. And in one of his latest videos, he talks about a franchise that I love dearly, the Metroid franchise, which is a franchise I've never really gotten to discuss in full on the channel, but I am doing a Let's Play of a Metroid game soon, which I'm excited about. But I digress. The Metroid franchise, if you don't know, it's a Nintendo franchise, and it is one that hasn't gotten a whole lot of love in recent years. And he leads it up to the fact that he thinks that it's dying. He thinks that the Metroid franchise is in fact dead because Mario had its anniversary with a celebration. Zelda has its with a celebration. Kirby had its last year with a celebration. And here's my take on it. I think Nintendo is purely being cautious with this franchise because I don't think they know exactly where to take it. I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't think that the Metroid franchise is going anywhere solely because it is a Nintendo franchise that has gotten recent iterations. If you think of other Nintendo franchises that haven't gotten a game in years, Star Fox, F-Zero, Pikmin, if you want to say Pikmin, but Pikmin is getting a new game. The Mother series has not gotten a game in a long time. But, I digress. Metroid has. While it hasn't necessarily gotten positive reception from its fans, it is getting games. And here's my take on it. Because when Metroid started out, if you don't know, here's a little bit of history for you folks that did not watch his video that are purely watching mine. Metroid started off as, like all Nintendo franchises from those days, a 2D based game, like Kirby, Mario, and Zelda. All 2D games. But the difference was, when it came to the leap to 3D, it didn't do what Kirby, Mario, or Zelda did. In fact, there wasn't a Metroid game on the Nintendo 64. There was a Kirby game, there was a Zelda game, and there was a Mario game. These three franchises are going to keep coming up, by the way, so it'll all tie it all together in a woven little basket of Nintendo fun. It didn't get its first game, its first 3D game, until the GameCube. And it wasn't necessarily even developed by Nintendo. It was developed by Retro Studios, a third-party company. Granted, I think it is a subsidiary of Nintendo. I digress. It is still a third party. It'd be like if HAL developed it, which HAL surprisingly has done a lot of games that I love, and I was finding that in recent months. But again, digression. Gotta get back to the way I was talking about. And with this game, they took a leap. They made it a first-person shooter, but they did not get rid of the exploration aspect, which I love, but I do love the 2D Metroid games more because they just feel more rooted into its style. I even like Metroid Fusion. Like, I think that it's a friggin' awesome game. I think the story is well told, and it is still open-ended enough to where you don't feel trapped in a linear story. You can still explore a bit. And I don't hate Metroid Prime. I do love Metroid Prime, and the universe is huge in there. And I do like the underlying story that you can discover more of, and I think it's cool. I think that Retro Studios handled that franchise well. That being said, I did not play Metroid Prime 3. I do want to, though. But then, it was passed to another third-party developer, Team Ninja, who made Other M. However, this was not made with met with positive reception, from what I understand with fans. Again, I haven't played it. I haven't played a new Metroid game since Fusion, or actually since I guess 2 Echoes. I don't know whichever came out recently. The last one was in that era of time. But so I don't necessarily think they know. And this game, again, so I'm getting sidetracked. Other M was designed differently. It was handled differently. The engine was different. It was a different style of gameplay. It was still 3D, but it was a different style of gameplay. And I think they're trying to treat this. I think Nintendo is trying to treat this franchise from a console perspective like they've treated Mario, Zelda, and Kirby. Because if you play those franchises, if you're familiar with those franchises, until recently, all of the handheld iterations of those were 2D still. They were in style of the retro games, of the older games in those franchises. Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland was Kirby's Adventure, was a port of it to the Game Boy Advance. Metroid Fusion, again, 2D Metroid game made in an era of 3D Metroid games. Zelda Minish Cap, Four Swords Adventures, all these Zelda games styled like A Link to the Past, / the first Zelda game. So I think that they're trying to treat this franchise like those. They just haven't completely nailed it, the head on the coffin. Aside from having Metroid Prime be relatively successful. Not completely on a sale, not on an equal sale level of a Zelda or a Mario or a Kirby game. But the thing with that is, I think the reason why that is not because the gameplay is more mature, or the tone of these games is more mature. I think it's because the fact that the gameplay mechanics were not as fleshed out as they could be. This is just coming from someone who has played Metroid Prime 1 and 2. I love those games, but the controls are a tiny bit clunky for a shooter. I'm only saying this because I do love shooters, and I do know how they... I don't want to say I know. I understand and I see how they are typically controlled more fluidly, and Metroid Prime did not have that in its control aesthetic. And that, and the fact that there haven't been all that many Metroid games. There haven't. There have been infinitely more Kirby, Mario, and Zelda games. Especially Mario and Zelda games. So this franchise I feel, has always been handled a little bit carefully. Granted, if there were a new Nintendo franchise to come out, I'd love it to be Metroid. If it wasn't that, there's many other Nintendo franchises that deserve a new game. Again, the Mother games. While I haven't played a Mother game, an Earthbound game, I know those games are popular. I know they have their following, and yet they haven't gotten their own new game since Mother 3, which technically didn't come out here. So there's tons of other Nintendo franchises that could be fleshed out more. Star Fox, F-Zero, Fire Emblem, Golden Sun. There's tons of Nintendo franchises that could be fleshed out more. However, I think the reason why Metroid seems to be getting the slap in the face here is because it did so much for the gaming industry, and yet people kind of take that for granted. Open to the gameplay. Metroid was the first to do it. The really dark, like, overtones in its environment. Metroid was the first to do it. The female protagonist. Metroid was the first to do it. I mean, it's a franchise that's done so much, yet has gotten a bit of a terrible treatment to its franchise in terms of as many releases as it should get, and all of that sort. But I think it's mostly because Nintendo wants to treat this delicately. They want to treat this with a bit more respect. I want to put respect in quotes because some people might think that they are being respectful to their current franchises, but potato. If you've seen my new Super Mario Bros. Wii Let's Play, you know I'm not a big fan of that game. It's because we just don't like it. We have problems with its design. But I think that they can make a good Metroid game again. Do I want it to be 2D if it's on a console? I don't know. I'd actually like to see what they bring to the table that's new, if anything. If they want to make another first-person shooter game, I'd be perfectly fine with that. I honestly like the Metroid, and I played Hunters. I love Metroid Prime Hunters. It's a fun game. That was a good first-person shooter controls, especially for a handheld. It was done really well. So I don't know. I'm curious because I feel like they could do something like they do with Kirby. Not completely, because Kirby games, I feel, are more designed first with the story tacked onto the design. I mean, if you look at it, it's always like that. You know, Kirby's a ball. Or the gameplay niche is that you use the touchscreen to make him a ball. Let's make the plot around that. He's in a yarn world. Let's make the plot around that. I mean, they've always kind of made the gameplay first and the story later, at least I feel, with Kirby games. It's not like Mario, where you have such an established storyline that you kind of do over and over again. You save the princess. Or Zelda, to an extent, where you're going to save Zelda. I mean, there's other Zelda games that don't have you do that, and they're also brilliant. But Metroid is one of those things where it doesn't have an established story at all. Like, the Metroid games have, like, different stories so many times, so it's something that I think that they handle very gingerly. They want to make it a good story, and they want to have a good gameplay to support that great story. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with another Metroid game that's really well fleshed out, that isn't a poorly told story or anything like that. So I don't think it's dead. I just think they're waiting for the right time to make a new story and game that is refreshing for the franchise. That being said, I really want a new Metroid game, and a new Star Fox game, and a new F-Zero game, and I want a new Mother game, even though I haven't played any of those games. I want a new Earthbound. Why not? The fans need it. The fans deserve it, you know? From what I understand, Mother 3 is a fantastic piece of work, so are the other two games, so why not make a new Mother game? I want a new Golden Sun. I love Golden Sun. It's fun. I want a new Fire Emblem. I love Fire Emblem. Stop making Mario and Zelda games. I love Zelda. Don't get me wrong. I love Zelda. But, take your time with those if you're going to make them all the time, if you're going to focus on those. Sorry. That's a whole nother time. That's a whole nother rant for a whole nother day. My discussion on how Nintendo handles their franchises is another discussion for another day. But I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully, you enjoyed this long-winded response video of me discussing the Metroid franchise. I'm going to get out of here. I've been ViralRak. You guys are getting yourselves in situations, and I will see you another day.